that could be affected. Yes. Okay. Okay. Good evening. YouTube channel is recorded. Good evening. Today topic is test construct. Okay. If this psychological test is construct many aspects, assess the choosing items and the participant appropriate constructive items, so refreshing the depend upon the information gathered during the pilot study. Pilot testing or pilot study. Pilot testing is minimum sample. That means at least 20 samples to conduct a study to particular topic. This report and this result would be generalized the universal population. The development of the must test of the taken into accounting demographic and cultural aspects that could be affected the affected the affected the outcomes of the result to the main objective of the study. After the test is created, it must be normed using simple population that typical entire population established standard score. It is crucial to remember psych- psychologist test to have limitations and findings which only to be evaluated qualified expert to field of the subject particular trained and reading into account to better comprehend result. Test items are frequently normed using the representative sample of the population and their score are compared to the norm and social group. The steps of the test development are test construction, complete plan, and plan is systematic plan guidance to the test development activities, clear statements on the purpose of the definition or topic or title of the problem. The test score is interpretation of the inferior planned validity evidence retains for the test format, psychometric model and timeline, security, qualified controlled plan. Definition of the content, expect sampling plan relating the items of done by the empirical foundation, major sources of the content related validity evidence. Empirical based mean based on the review literature and review literature studied, gaps are identified to fill the gap to knowledgeable, that is empirical evidences. Test specific action. The specific action, it is a documentation developed to provide the content related validity evidence for the core interest of the same test. Developing items, creation of the effective test stimuli or item format, um, pin, principles of the effective items, writing the item difficulties and difficult management bias, minimize the bias is exterior variable, test designing of assembly, test designing, operationalized test format, item are promote the selection, operational sampling, blueprint, printing of the item try out. Proceeding the test form, publishing or proceeding the test security, validity, quality, and control usage, administration. Validity use of the concern with the standardization, fairness issue, production security and issues. And the response scoring, validity uses psychometric model, quality control, key validation, item analysis. Establishing fashion score, establishing the desirable and deficient score is related to absolute methods, validity issues, compatibility, standard and construct of the score scale, reporting of the test result, validity usage, occurring the quality control, item timeline, measure issues, so on. So, item banking, effective the security of the flexibility of the item, documentation, technically reported, uh, process of documentation through the deadline and documentation is evidence-based securities. Yes. Psychometric or psychological test construction. Psychometric, also known as the psychological test constructive, is systematic test, both verbal and non-verbal usage, qualify and different mental abilities of the test taker, test constructant to make the sure they are accurate and trustworthiness measurement of the constructor. They are designed to examine the psychological test are created using the strictly and organized approaches. This entirely determining the constructive or trials will be assessed using the test items that potential and operational uh, clarification of the test test in constructive uh, pilot piloting of the choosing the items that are be prepared appropriate to constructive pilot testing the items and definition of the test development on the information gathered during the pilot study. The development of the test must also known as into account of demographic and cultural aspect and could be affected the test outcome. Test outcome. Okay. After the test created must be normal using sample population typical of the entire population established standard scores. It is a crucial and remember the psychological test to have limitations and the finding should have only be evaluated by qualified expert in the field of who taken the subject, particularly trials and the upgrading into accounting to better comprehend result test items are frequently normalized by using a representative sample from the population and their scores are comprehensed with the norms objective. To construct a psychometric test, the test objective must be considered. The objectivity of the test is to degree to which frequently competent test, the score obtained the same result. It is the most important characteristic of the good test. What is the objective? The test to measure the same objective related matters. The population, appropriate age range, education level, cultural background, average of the task must be determined beforehand before the designing the test content. It is necessary to determine the content of the test and the content of the test depends upon the objectivity. The test format, how to format is a type, the multiple choice questionnaire, true or false questionnaire, and inventory responses are um, creating skills, and also descriptive models. The design of the test need to decide the format of the test. A psychometric test can be brief and easy, and length and difficulty questions in the psychometric test can there out of the taker. Untrue answers are not well to answers to the test questions might make it easily for the trained evaluators and correct the behavior or mental characteristics of the test taker. Test instruction. Psychometric test can be broadly classified into oral and written test, oral test and written test. To deliver the test answers relevantly diagnosis. The test administration. Admin the many defined as the psychological test, which is the psychological test to talk place. Hence, the agreement for the preliminary and the final test of must be considered. Defining the user to avoid the confusion, the per frequent of the administering and interpreting the test must be predominant. Test duration. The test probably length and duration must be decided beforehand. Too much of length or too much of questions interpret in the test. The test is some faulty of information given, but the length of the test is the most interest, most interested. Method of the sampling. Method whether is the going to be random or selective must be predominated. Ethical and social consideration. The potential harms for the administering of the psychological test must be mentioned in the guidelines. In addition to that, and the safeguard built into the recommended test procedure must to be mentioned as will be order prevently harm. The test admin or administration. The test administration will alert depend on whether it is administered individual group possibly when delivered an individual will only given one person. Hence a preparation must be done. Moreover, suitable sitting arrangement and preparation are required if it is the administrated to a group. In any case, keep in the mind that, that the test is done methodologically standardized. The test or must be followed the same instruction before the administering the examine to an individuals or group. Be sure that all the necessary materials are available. Also make sure that the location in which the exam will be given favorable and devoid of the discrimination. Must You must thoroughly study the exam handbook and understand the concept of the test method. Scoring interpretation in the psychological test. There are two type of scoring, hand scoring and machine scoring. Some test machine scoring. Okay, okay. Uh, Percentage score, raw score, and it is the aptitude test. And total number of the questions. Raw score is the total number of questions that are correctly answered. If the test has been scored compared to other test takers, it will be fall under the category of the percentile. In case of aptitude test or 100% is considered, the preferred score is 90% is considered, excellent score is 80% considered, above average and below average consider the score. The minimum accepted score is 40% according to NCBI. The emotional intelligence score range is 27 and 108. Medical student, a score or equivalent 47 consider high emotional intelligence, and score between 47 and 58 is considered average emotional intelligence, will be above the 58, below average emotional intelligence indicated. Hand scoring. Hand scoring is idea when about only small number of the test result involved the uh, involved and it takes much time. Hence, it can be considered more accurate. Mission score. Mission score is ideal for the time when a large number of the test results are involved. Scoring take place take place with the help of the computer and assistant score systematically. systematically. Item writing. The item writing is um, more important and knowledgeable. Knowledgeable. What is the topic? What is the problem? But what type of the items are included in the test? It is the most important. The items are to measure directly or indirectly measure to objective. Construction determine the best format getting the response input in part the choice systems from the objectives and purpose of the test. Def, uh, defines clearly what is want to be measured. Definitely clearly what is want to measure. To do this, use of substantive theory as a guided is done to try to make items are specifically possible. Getting an item pool. What type of items you pull in the questionnaire? Theoretically, all items are randomly chosen from the university of items content in participants waiver care in the selecting and developing the items is valuable. Avoiding the random rudimentant items, maybe some faulty of items. In the intelli phases, select the right three or four items. Each one of the will be eventually use of text or scale. Avoiding the expectationally long items. To length of the questionnaire, length of the statement must be avoided. Keeping the level of recording difficulty appropriate to those who have completed the scale. Avoiding the double barreled, some items is maybe indicated two types of same problem to indicate the many items is doubled idea, double variable, two or more ideas same time. For example, consider any items asked the respondent to agree, disagree with the statement. I wrote to discriminative because the support and social program. When there are two different statements, will the person could not agree, devoted, democratic, and I support the social program. This agree and support is the same method. Consider the maximum positively and negatively wondered items. Sometimes respondent to develop the acquisition responses set. This means the respondent will be tended agreed with the most items. To avoid this basis of items can be included by wording the opposite direction. Item format. The type of the test one have probably experienced most in the classroom is the one in which is she receiving the credit for the specific responses. Selection of the single correct alternative from each test is item. True or false multiple choice examinations use this system similarly format or using the many other purposes such as the evaluating the attitude determines knowledge about traffical laws or deciding the whether someone has characteristics that are the associated with the particular health condition. Particular health condition. Sorry for the networking disturbance. Polytomous format. The detoximous format graph a selection of the format, except that the each item has more than two alternatives. Typically, a point is given for the selection of one of the alternatives and no point is given from selecting any other choice. The Likert format, one popular format of attitude and personality scale, requires to their respondent to indicated the degree of agreement with the particular attitudinal questions, questions, questions. It should be most important in the personality test and some attitude test. The category of format technically the two is the similar to like it format, but the use of every greater number of the choice is the category format. Checklist and Q store are one of the format. Checklist is a problem identified whether the problem appeared or not appeared. Commonly, personality measurement is the adjective checklist, behavioral problem checklist. It is the method of the subject to reviews a long list of the adjectives and indicate the whether each one of the characters states himself of the herself. The category of format A technique that is similarly to like it format about that use an event gather number of the choice is the category format. Most people are familiar with the 10-point ranging systems because we are regularly asked questions such as one a scale of the 10 point. Yes. Item analysis. A good test good items. But what are the good items? How many items have you been in a classes which the students launched the full scale better over the particular items in a multiple choice test with the good items are hand created. Good test making requires carefully attention to the principles of the test construction. Item difficulty. In the item difficulty format that measure the achieve the abilities, item difficulty is defined by the number of the people who get the correct, particular items correct, and the particular items are repetitions or many classifications are estimated. Okay, if the 80% of the people talking the particular, then the difficulty level for the item point 84 score. Same people have subjected the proportion do not to real indicate items difficulty, but items is essential. The highest population of proportion of the people who get the items correct, the usually items, just getting the items is 24 is correct. Okay. This is the proportion of the item in maybe suppose 100 items is included in the one object to measure statement. This in the statements are directly measure statements is 50%, indirectly measuring the percent of the at least to 15 or 20%, remaining the non-directive questions. This non-directive mean in case um, uh, negative mode. Okay, live detecting type. These are the inbuilt and included. Okay. Item discriminability, discrimination ability. Yes, item discrimination ability. The previous selection of the discussed the analysis of the item difficulty, which is the determine the proportion of the people who success on the particular item. Another way to examine the value of the items to ask who get who get these items correct. Assessment of the items discriminability determine whether the people who have done well and particularly items have also done well on the whole test is can evaluated the discrimination ability of the test in many ways. The extreme group of method, the extreme group of method of the test, mm, the method compares the people who have done with these of above the done purely test group. Okay. The test is the more difficulties. Extreme group, maybe suppose extreme group is an example. Socially avoid or socially distance means. So suppose extreme group juvenile juvenile delinquency, specific behavior attitudes, or criminal's attitude in mm, more sensitive emotionality related assessment is extreme group assessment. The point by serial method. Another way to examine the discriminability of the items is to find this correlation between performance on the items and performance on the total test. It is point by serial conclusion. Conclusion. Psychological test is the systematic procedure keeping tracking of an individual behavior, tracking of an individual behavior, keeping tracking an individual behavior. Trainer, evaluator, psychologist have then administered this test is diagnosed individuals. Diagnosis within the individuals. It's a performance or intelligence test. These tests are mostly designed to measure the difference between the abilities and capabilities of the test taker and capabilities and different takers and the different abilities of the individuals over some time. A test administration may be defined as the physical and psychological setting in which the psychological test taker plays. In construction of the such test requires elaborate planning so that they can severe the purpose for the which they have been designed. Construction. Interpretation of the test result may be depend upon the test result, which can be broadly classified into a percentile score or raw score, an objective frame of the referring. This is the test is more complication. Okay. This is tool construction. Okay, test constructivity is the most important to find out the problem. And we will go to another topic. Just right. Another topic is reliability and value. Reliability and value. Reliable. Meaning is reliable to relation, to relation. The about the subject, validity. How much, how much value, how long this is validity. Okay, process we will discuss. Every measure instrument, whether it is the architect and inventory of the depression, must have two proportions. So instrument must wildly the construct measure that must be reliable, and the instrument must be fact measure that are variable. It is set measure that must be validity. These two properties, reliability and validity. Reliability. The actual measurement should not change unless what we are measuring changes. Consistency or reliability does not necessarily mean sameness. The weightness of mission scale, what work accurately expert whether the Wednesday morning, which is the weight of recorded, is attributed increased by the 3 kilos, does not reliable. No, what is the no, it is. In case of one test is measure the intelligence. Okay, the test is anywhere we will conduct. The test is measuring only intelligence. But suppose the test is result on attitude and aptitude types in the reliability test to test reliability. Suppose result. Today we will conduct the one intelligence test like RPM. Okay, like RPM test. Some subjects that are climbs to average. Test the same test 14 days. So same test is same person, same place we will conduct. The result will be above average, indicate the test is the retest will high score or very low score. It and determining the retest reliability is fault. The conducting the maybe in case of fault or may not be test administration default. And another test is alternate is to automate that same test and administer to format either different times or sections. Good experimental practice requires that the eliminate any practice or the transfer effect. Half of the subject take for J followed by form A followed by form B. The half of the take form A followed by form A. The two formats should be evaluated evaluate into the aspect of instrument number is items is same. Flipped half reliability whether 100% the administrated the 100 items vocabulary test to a group of the subject and then for the each person obtained two scores and number of correct on the even numbered the items and the numbers are corrected in odd numbers item. Okay, flip top in case 100 item. Even numbers is separate, odd numbers are separate. It is a one flip top. Or in the questionnaire 1 by 4, or 4 by 2 by 4, 3 by 4, 4 by 4. Each every half is 25 statements. It is a half reliability. Each in case one test to measure the three dimensions. Each dimension is some statements. The is first A statement, A, A statement, no. A dimension is related to B dimension, B related to C related C. So it is the half reliability in each every statement. Type of validity. Okay. Type of validity. Masking define validity as the integrated evaluative judgment of the adequacy and appropriate of interpretation and action based on the assessment method. It is action based on the assessment method. Content validity. Content validity refers to questions of the whether the test adequately forward of the administration to be measured and sufficiently relevant achievement criterion validity. If the test criterion validity, we must the score on the test paralyze criterion validation more intelligence how the score on the test barrel are high correlated to intelligence as measured in the same other way that is the criteria of intelligence. Predictive and constructive validity. Predictive. We will expect before. We will expect before. This is predictive. Yes, predict in the bias based or socially anticipation and expectation. In the establishing the certain validity, we administered the test to group of the individuals and we will compare their test score, their test score to a criterion measure to standardize that reflect the particularly variable we are particularly interested in. This is standardized reflection are subjective of the measurement in the same items. Constructive validity. More to, if not all, of the variables that are of the interest to psychologists do not exist in the same sense that the crowd of the coefficient xn affair are. You cannot buy a crowd of intelligence, nor does not to superego have an atomically location likely kidneys. It is the constructive. Constructive means order by order to set the item validity is the testing. Convergent and discriminant validity. It is Pepe Flex and Campbell proposed show the constructive validity. One must show the particular test to correlation highly with variable, which one of the basis of the theory. If out of the correlation with they are called the convergent validation. Yes, correlate the item A correlation relation to between B 0.5 level, the B relation to C 0.2 or less than 5 level. How much the relation it is the correlate. This is the test validity construction. Aspect of validity. Band, band wittles refer to range of applicability of a set test that convert a wide area of functioning, such as MMPI or the brand bands testing. Test that cover a narrow area, such as measure of the depression or narrow band testing. Group homogeneity. Group homogeneity. If we look at the various measures designed to predict academic achievement, such as achievement test used in the primary grade, those those used in high high school, in the state youth college administrator, graduate record examination used for the graduate school administration, we find that the validity coefficient are generally gathered at the young age. There is a gathered correlation between the test score and high school grade. Then there is between the test score in the graduation. Cross validity. The cross validity a test we collect information on how the test work in the particular sample or the situation. If we have data on several samples that are similar, we would typically call in the validity generation. Validity generation. This is the cross validity. The class validity section may one object in the tool one dimension to another dimension, dimension A and dimension B to validate the both sessions in the same value or same coefficient is relation to the both. This is the cross examination result. Cross examination result means one suppose one patient is suffering from the typhoid. The patient to sample given by one laboratory. The subjective report, the subject patient, the client or patient result is to be high and default some mission error, mission error or human error. The client or patient is go to another lab to same test is repeated to both reports is compare the section compare the each every value. This is cross validation. Relationship between validity and reliability. We have discussed the reliability and validity separately because logically they are however also related in the multiple trait multi-time multi-timed method approaches. For example, our two measures of depression different in their method and so is considered to be validity. What if the two forms did not different in methods? They would force of the paralyzed. Interpreting a validity coefficient, the evidence validity format of correlation, although course other statistical procedure are used. When we discussed reliability, we said that the generally agreed that from the test reliability correlation efficient should be latest prediction. A second way of interpreting of the validity correlation coefficient recalled whether there is a correlation implication that the score is a criterion predict of some degree score on the test. Standard error estimation. In every test construction, some errors in the occurred. These errors are the estimated by the some specifically score method. Meta-analysis consistent of the number of statistical analysis designed the empirical assess find out the various studies on the same topic. Okay. It is meta-analysis. Meta-analysis is a review related one topic is review collected. Same identify the gap to fill the in based on the secondary source of the result. Decision theory. Decision theory. From the above the decision validity because the eventually often usefulness of the test can be measured by the how will the test predict the criterion does not state to predict academic achievement can be appropriate sensitivity specificity and predictivity values the relay, relay relatively frequencies of the four categories lead to the leads to the three terms than the sometimes used in the literature in the construction with test reduction errors in probably every situation whether a series of decisions is made such as which thousands of students admit particular universities some building of the same type of error type of which is the type of error willing to tolerant of more that comparably depend upon the situation, philosophical, ethical, politically, economically, and other issues. Some people for the exam might be state substantial numbers of the students will never graduate. Selection ratio. One of the issues of the impending our decision and kindly errors with the tolerate is the selection ratio, which is referred to number of individuals that we need selection the poor applicant. The base rate, another aspect of